Hey there, I'm Dov Kaiser and you're watching Pic It Perfect. This is Curves Lesson 2. In this lesson we're going to be talking about the Curves adjustment layer, and we're going to be talking about how to maximize the amount of values and ranges of colors and shades of gray that you can get within your image without actually creating black or white clipping. And I'm going to do that while relating the Curves adjustment layer to the histogram. Let's get started. I'm going to go to the layer panel and I'm going to click on the adjustment layer icon and click on curves. Now, if you know nothing about curves, if you haven't learned about it yet, I'd recommend checking out my tutorial from last week about the basics of curves. And if you want to learn more about color, you can either wait for next week or you can just find a different tutorial. Anyways, this diagonal line right over here, that represents our image as it goes into, or before it goes into the curves adjustment layer. And the bottom left corner of that diagonal line is the black point, meaning the darkest point of my image, and the top right point is the white point, meaning the brightest point within my image. And the graph under it, that's the histogram. And what a histogram basically is it's a relation of the values that you have related to the amount of pixels with that value. And I'm gonna explain that a little bit more. You know that a digital image or any photo is built of pixels. And what a pixel is it's a square with a specific value, or if we're thinking in colors, either a specific color or a specific shade of gray, just one. And when we're talking about black and white images, we're talking about having from 0 to 255, meaning Photoshop has 256 values that could be a gray value. The darkest value is black, and that's 0, and the brightest value is white, and that's 255. What our histogram does is it lets us see, where our values are, where our pixels are, and how bright are they or how dark are they. So if we look at our histogram right up here in the top right corner, we'll notice that our histogram kind of starts at the real darks, and it gets really a lot of pixels kind of at this area right over here around 25, and then it goes up and it gets down, and then it really ends at about 200, somewhere around 200, and it doesn't go all the way up to 255, meaning our image does not get completely white pretty much anywhere. And if we want to maximize the amount of values that we can get out of our image, we're going to need to push our histogram up there, or push the whites of our histogram up there. And we want to do that without creating white clipping. And what white clipping is it's what happens when we overexpose an image. We have large matted areas that are completely white, meaning that they are all with a value of 255, and there's no information over there. On the other hand, if we had black clipping, it'd be that there's large areas with black with no information in there. And when we're editing, we're really trying to avoid that almost at all times. I mean, obviously there's exceptions to everything. And basically what I can do with the curves is I can take the white point and click and drag it up till the brightest point of our histogram. And if we look at the histogram within the curves, that stays the same, but the histogram over here changes. And the reason is because this is the histogram of our image before we brought it into curves, into this curves adjustment layer, and not after. And we actually see the live view of what happens after. And this helps us to set just that, to set black and white points. How do I do this and be sure that I'm not clipping my image? I mean, I could easily be clipping my image and I wouldn't really know it. I mean, I could check the histogram over here, but is there a better way? Well, actually, there is a better way to do it, to see exactly what you're doing. And that is, I just reset my curves, and I'm gonna go to this drop-down menu right over here, and I'm gonna click on Show Clipping for black and white points. And now when I click and drag from my white point of my image until the histogram, you'll notice that it's completely black, but as I start getting to the edge of this histogram right over here, I start getting white dots on my image, and these white dots represent white clipping. And if you notice, I'm gonna overdo this a lot, and then I'll let go, and you'll see that actually, yeah, I have a lot of white clipping right over here. And this whole area right over here, that's to the right of this triangle right over here, that becomes 100% white. That becomes 255. And then if you look at the histogram, you'll see that I have this really high line right over here. So what this tool allows me to do is it enables me to see exactly when I start getting clipping and just get to that point and not anywhere beyond. Because having one dot that's that's completely white is actually a good thing. It means that we just got to completely white. And then I can click and do it on the other side. It's all white, and I drag it in until I get to some black dots that represent the black clipping, and I let go. And there we go. I quickly and easily maximize the amount of values that I can get out of my image, and there's a lot more shades of gray, and the image actually does look much better. Say I want to do this in a different way. I'm going to shut this off, and I'm going to click on the adjustment layer panel on the adjustment layer icon and create a new curves layer. And I have these three samplers right over here, and these actually are kind of neat also. I can click over here on the white point sampler and then sample what I say is the white point, and then Photoshop will adjust the white point accordingly. And I can do the same thing with the black point. And there you go. The only problem about this is I find it to be a little bit less accurate, and that's why I don't really use it. That's pretty much it. That's how you can maximize the amount of values that you get out of your image. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you learned something. Please comment, like, and definitely please subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next week. Oh yeah, and next week we're going to be talking about color within curves.